Hi guys, hope you're having a good Friday. What we're going to talk about today is solving by factoring, okay? So the last 2 days we've been talking about factoring, how to pull out a GCF Thursday, and how to just straight factor on Wednesday. But how do we put that together and solve by factoring? So to solve by factoring, you're going to need to use the zero product property. I'm not going to make you memorize that, but if you want to look like why we can do it, that's the reason why we can do what we're going to do here. So let's say I took a problem that I factored it all the way down. I already did all the work. And I end up with 3x plus 2 in one binomial, and x minus 4 in the other binomial equals 0, because now we're solving, we're not just factoring an expression. So what I do, because of a zero product property, I can set each binomial as a separate equation and set it equal to 0. So in doing that, I would get 3x plus 2 equals 0. So I would subtract 2 and divide by 3, and I get x equals negative 2/3. And then I would bring down my x minus 4 and set that equal to 0, and end up with x equals 4. Those would be my answers. I would be done. I would solve it. This right here are actually your x-intercepts. When we graphed last unit, where the graph crosses the x-axis, and we had to do our 1, 3, 5, 7 method to find it, now we no longer have to do it, because we would put those dots right on the x-intercept, find our vertex, and then we'd have our quadratic going up or going down. Okay? Another example would be like, let's say I have a GCF, okay? And that GCF is just a number, not a number and a variable, and I pull out a 4. When we start with quadratic formula, we'll do more with that 4 and kind of get rid of it. For right now, we're going to stay pretty basic with it, and we're just going to set everything equal to 0, just like we did the first time. So I get 4 equals 0, which is not a true statement, so I'm done with it. I'm going to ignore it. Then I set x plus 1 equal to 0, and I get x equals negative 1. And then I said x minus 3 equals 0, and I get x equals 3. So my answer for number 2 problem would be x equals negative 1, x equals 3. Again, that's where that quadratic would cross the x-axis. This quadratic would be going up because a would be 4 and a is positive. Okay, let's do 3 more examples, and then I did assign an assignment that's going to be due Sunday at 11:59 p.m. And it's overall solving by factoring, just to make sure we're good with it. So let's do one more problem where we don't have to factor, and it's going to be set up like number 2. The difference is number 2, the GCF was just a 4, but this one here, when I factored it, I end up with 3x and x plus 3 and an x minus 2. So what I'm going to do there still is still set everything equal to 0. So I'm going to bring this down, and I get 3x equals 0. I get x plus 3 equals 0. And I get x minus 2 equals 0. So I still get all 3 parts equal to 0, and then I solve them. So I end up, I divide by 3 here. Remember, it's okay to divide a 0 by a number. You get a number. I get 0. But when you do a number divided by 0, that's undefined. So sometimes you gotta get that confused. So I end up with x equals 0, x equals negative 3, because I would subtract 3 from either side, and then I end up with x equals 2. So again, I got the original problem, I factored it all the way through. I then set each part equal to 0 and end up with x equals 0, x equals negative 3, and x equals 2. Because of the zero product property, I can do that. So we're tying in the factoring we did the last 2 days and this material here. Let's just do a couple more problems, and then we'll be good to go. Okay? So let's do this one here. 2 more problems. So let's say I have 4x squared plus 5x plus 1 equals 0. In order to solve by factoring, one side of the equation has to be 0. So if it's not, you have to make it happen. And you want to keep a positive. So if I ignored the 0 right here, that would just be like the problems we did Wednesday and Thursday. So let's right away start and let's factor this. So I get a equals 4, b equals 5, and c equals 1. And I'm going to X it up. I'm going to divide by 4 because that's my a. And I get 4, and I get 5. So it says, what numbers multiply to give me 4 but combine to give me 5? Well, that would be a positive 1 and a positive 4. Okay? I'm going to go on the next step, and I'm going to simplify those right down, because 1 divided by 4 and 4 divided by 4, that's going to go to 1. So I end up with x plus 1/4, x plus 1, okay? Technically, it is equal to 0. So you can put that in, but sometimes I forget that, so that's okay. Then I'm going to move this in front, and I end up with 4x plus 1 and x plus 1. So those are my binomials. Now I'm going to set each one of those equal to 0 and solve. So when I do that, I end up with x equals negative 1/4 and x equals negative 1. And that would be my answer. So we're combining again what we did on Wednesday and Thursday. And then we're just adding in this one part of setting your answers now equal to 0. Okay? Last problem we're going to do today, and then enjoy the beautiful weather, is if I have a problem like this, x squared equals 3x plus 4. On the last problem, it was already set equal to 0. On this one, if it's not set equal to 0, you have to get it set equal to 0. So I'm going to move the 3x and the positive 4. So I'm going to subtract 3x and subtract 4. So when I do that, I get x squared minus 3x minus 4 equals 0. Okay, again, one side of the equation has to be 0 when you're solving by factoring. So if it's not, that's the first thing you have to do before you pull out a GCF, before you do anything, get one side equal to 0. Then I'm going to x this up. So a equals 1, b equals negative 3, and c equals negative 4. I'm going to x it up, and I get negative 4 and negative 3. So I think to myself, what numbers multiply to give me negative 4, but combine to give me negative 3? Well, that's going to be a negative 4 and a positive 1. Because the denominator here are 1, I'm just going to write down the binomial simplified down already. So when I get those, I get x minus 4, x plus 1 equals 0. Okay. Remember, if I wanted to check that, I could distribute these two binomials together, and I should get back to this original trinomial. If not, I did something wrong with my factoring. So now the last step is the new step. I'm going to do the 0 product property. So I'm going to set each one of those binomials equal to 0. X minus 4 equals 0. X plus 1 equals 0. I'm going to solve those, and I get x equals 4. X equals negative 1. So those would be the answers I'd be looking for on the homework assignment that's due on Sunday. Again, this upper part here is just a review. Again, we will be on Zoom today and on Friday, and your guys' time slot is from 9:30 to 9:50. If you have any questions about the assignment that's due tonight at 11:59 with regards to factoring, or even the new one that's due on Sunday by 11:59, make sure you let me know. Okay? Have a great weekend. I will see you guys on Monday. Thanks for stopping by, guys.